So I have made a new notebook here, and what I have done is copied the code to download the files from the first programming project, and then copy also the functions to transform those files in a format that we can use. Let's see that in some detail. So here I have already run this, but we have this code cell to download this windData.xls file, which is an Excel type file. You can download it if you want to your computer and run it. What do I mean, my computer? Is this not my computer? Well, no, it is not. For details on this, go to the course page and check the how to use Colab for the course video. Okay, but basically what happens here is that whenever I open this Colab notebook, yes, in my computer, I'm actually connecting to a remote computer somewhere in the world owned by Google, and then I'm running this actually there. So any modification that I do to the notebook will be communicated to my computer, so I will have it. I will be able to save it, probably in Google Drive. But anything that I modify in the hard drive of the computer, such as this file that I'm downloading now, will only be there for the duration of my session. As soon as I close this notebook, all that remote hard drive will be erased. I can check that remote hard drive here. After downloading this file, I had it here, okay, and now you could come here and download it, and that would copy it from this hard drive, from this remote computer to your actual computer if you want to, okay? But I'm going to be happy working there in the remote computer. After downloading this file, we we transform it from XLSX, so Excel format, to CSV. This is an Excel file with different sheets, and we transform each of those sheets into one data file, into one data CSV file that we can easily check. So for example, we are going to be working with this wind direction file in our project 1, so we can check it. This wind direction file, we can see many pages, has data from 2012 to 23 for the wind direction in Zhao Mountain, manually annotated at different hours. 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning, and so on and so forth. Okay, and I can check those. Okay, all the columns up until 10 at night. Okay, nothing from 10 to 7 in the morning. And I have different dates, and every line has an index. As you can see, there are different wind directions: west, north, southwest, south, east, southeast, all the possible directions, and some of them are empty. As you can see, some of the cells do not have a value. Not only that, but as some of your classmates have already realized, there are also small inconsistencies, small errors with the data, which you need to check. Sometimes the data has very few actual input. Okay, so I'm checking that, and working with that is also part of the exercise. Okay, so we have now seen the file in the Colab interface. Again, double click here, and I can see it here and check it. But I would like to open it with my code. So I'm going to first use pandas. Pandas library is very convenient. I just need to use the pandas function read CSV. And then by having a look at data, I get a very similar type of representation as I was having before. Okay. In this case, I'm having one extra column that is a little bit annoying, but we'll get to that in a second. But let's get to what we want to actually do here, okay? So we want to process in task 1 this wind direction file with our Python code, and we are going to use the same ideas that we were using in this example that I had a look at just a second ago. Please go and have a long look at this example and the accompanying video, and it will help you a lot, I believe, for project number 1. Okay, so I'm just going to copy the code here, and now I adapt it because, of course, the name of the file is not the same. So I'm going to just start here, and let me get rid of this part for a second. So what I got here is a representation, a result that shows me the, so right here, yes, the again, these are a little bit annoying. Here I have another slide. Okay, lost it again. Yeah, now that's better. So I have opened the wind direction file, and I have printed each of their lines. I have used a for loop to iterate over all of the elements of the f file handle of the f iterable, and I have managed to print all of the lines. As you can see, I get this annoying space in between each of the two lines, and that's because the lines in my file end up with a new line character, and every print that I do also automatically incorporates a new line character. If I want to get rid of that, I need to add this, end my print with a empty string instead of the new line character. And if I do that, then I get this print without that new line character that was annoying me. Let's check again. This two slider thing is incredibly annoying. Now I have it. Okay. Second slider. Let's get back to it. Yes, start of it. And here we have it, okay? So the first line with the names of the columns, and then the second line with the first registry of data, and so on and so forth. I can now use my Python coding abilities to process this data. For example, I could use split, the split function that we saw last week for strings, to divide each of these lines into the parts that are separated by commas. I would just need to call line dot split. Okay. Before I do that, I would like to get rid of this first line, because this line does not contain the same type of information that the others do. This is just the names of the columns. Okay. And I could do this, for example, with a counter. I would say I would add a counter variable here, and I would only print if counter is over 0. Okay, and then I would update the counter at each iteration. Okay, if I do this, and then let me fight again with the slider. Okay, around here, yes. Second slider, yes. And now I'm starting my print at the 0 line, and I have gotten rid of the line with the names of the columns. Okay, so that's something that you probably want to do. This works perfectly, but it's a little bit long. Fortunately for me, this type of file handles have a function called next. So I can just next f that jumps 1, and then I can get rid of the whole counter thing. I do this again, have my usual fight with the sliders, and then I can just see that I have printed the exact same thing. Next jumps 1 line, so then I start my for after having jumped 1 line, which is what I wanted to do. So now I can print all of my lines, all of the lines in my file, which is useful. Okay. Let's now start with the processing of this information. I want to basically end up knowing what the wind directions are in my data. I will end up building a dictionary, and we will talk about dictionaries next time. But basically what I want to know is how many times each wind direction is repeated. Okay, so let's get to that. For example, one thing that we can do is we can, as I said before, split each of our lines at their comma. So instead of printing line, I'm going to print line dot split at the comma. Okay, wait, making a syntax error. Okay, and now instead of getting all my lines, what I get is a separation of what a list. Okay, this for each line I get a list. This square bracket shows me that this is a list, a container, a sequence of data. You can see all about list in course 2 unit 1. Okay, and this list contains at each position what used to be in my cells in my Excel file. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to print everything again in a different line to see it a little bit better. But basically what I'm getting is for each position, the index of the position, the date, and then all of the cells containing the wind direction for each hour. Okay, so now I have my file information in this kind of list format for every line. Okay, notice that I have here a new line character in the last position, which can be annoying. Okay, probably I want to get rid of that one, and you can have a look at Python strip function. I'm just going to go ahead and call it here, and you will see that that new line character no longer appears. Okay, but have a look at exactly what this strip function does. Okay, actually, yeah, here for example you have a link to the Python documentation for this function. Okay, have a look, read this, and understand exactly what we are doing here. But basically now for each line I have my data in a format that I can process easily. What do I mean by that? For example, if I wanted to count the if I wanted to print only the wind direction at the first data column, so 7 o'clock in the morning, okay, which would be this column, I would need to at each point access this list and access the element in position 0, 1, 2. Okay, so I would come here and say print only position 2, and then I would get a long list, sorry, a long sequence of prints where at each position I have the contents of the cell from the column at 7 o'clock. WW nothing, www, and so on. Okay. So first I have printed all my lines, then I have transformed them to list with split, and thanks to that, by splitting at the comments, now I can access them. If I wanted to, for example, count how many W's appear at 7 o'clock, I could go and say count west equals 0, and now instead of printing this, if this thing is west, then count west is increased by 1, and then I could print in the end count west, and with this I would know that I have 1901 W's in the column from 7 o'clock. If I wanted to count how many wests are there, not only in the first column but in any column, I could, for example, add a new for here. I could I don't even need a range. I could iterate over this line strip split thing, so the whole list of the components in every line, and then I could print each of them separately to see what we are doing. Let me comment this out for a moment. Anything after this symbol is not read by Python, so let me just print line of I. Okay, and you will see that I will get for I, sorry, in that list, in line strip, so on and so forth. Okay, sorry, I have to, this is each of the elements and I can print them. Okay, and now I'm printing each of the elements in each of the lines separately. Okay, yeah, I'm iterating over that list. Let's also print it so that we know exactly what we are doing. First I print each of the lines and then I iterate each of its elements. Now each of the lines, because I have split them at the commas, is a list of elements, and now I iterate each of them. Okay, and all of this white space is because some of the elements are empty. And what I would like to do now is to count, for example, the west elements. So I'm going to stop printing so many things. What I want to do now is, if this I element is west, then I want to count west. And with this, I count that there are 23,189 instances of west in all of my table. Not only on the first column like I did before, but in the whole table. With this, I could now count west, east, southwest, all of the different values with different counters, and I would have most of the information that I need for task 1. Okay? But that would be a little bit unwieldy, and that would make it difficult to process the, let's say, imperfections on the data annotations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to use this and put it inside of a dictionary. A dictionary is a data structure that helps me couple pairs of data. One key, For example, in this case, the keys will be the values, the different values in the data frame, and one value. We will use the wind direction names as keys, and we will use the number of repetitions that we have for each of them as values. We will build such a dictionary. To know a little bit more about dictionaries, of which we will speak about next week, you need to have a look at course 2, unit 3. Okay, and that will complete all you need for task 1 in this programming project. And if you're a beginner and you can complete all of task 1, I will be pretty happy. I think you should be able to, but get on to it. If you can do task 1 and task 2, you will surely get top points. For experts, for more advanced students, task 1 should be more or less easy. Task 2 should be doable just by looking a little bit at pandas. And task 3 should be possible too. We will also have a little bit a look at profiling and so on in following sessions. But for now, this stops all I wanted to do to get you started in task 1. Get coding, send me any doubts, submit your code, and you will get feedback